All right, welcome back. Let's talk some city race for City Hall now. The first polls came out already. Now that we know who the party reps are officially, and Bill de Blasio 65, Joe Lhota 22%. That recent polls, obviously, as they say, very early. Okay, but today you got some punctuation parts to the Democratic primary. Christine Quinn, the day after Bill Thompson, endorsing her former opponent, Bill de Blasio. On primary night, de Blasio, as we know, came in first, and Quinn a very distant third. Now, on the campaign trail, Quinn had said that de Blasio couldn't be trusted, and when asked about that today, she just brushed the comments aside. But, Dominic, I ask you, we saw at one point the flavor of the month, Anthony Weiner. We all know what happened to him. Christine Quinn came in as a presumptive favorite. She was the, if you will, the institutional candidate, both from City Hall, the mayor's blessing for all intents and purposes, organization. And then Bill Thompson, we thought he was going to at some point wake up, and it never happened. All that said, who's got the most regrets today that it's Bill de Blasio standing up there and not them?
Well, I guess I would have to answer, and this is a subjective answer, but in my opinion, it's Bill Thompson. Because if Bill Thompson had played to his base more of the black community, he would be the Democratic nominee today. And then he could play to his more moderate credentials. If he had got it to the primary, he would be the next mayor of New York. And he would have a solid base behind him. There was no way Christine Quinn, none, over term limits, was ever going to be the Democratic nominee, period.
Anthony Weiner has the most regrets because de
de
Blasio filled the shoes that Weiner built, the anti-Bloomberg shoes.
You think he would have if there wasn't the whole...
Yeah,
you
I think the polling showed that.
I agree with that, that he could have won.
On the other hand, Billy Thompson's campaign was awful. Christine had the endorsement of the three papers, got nowhere. De Blasio was the last man standing. More to his credit, he understood that the race was about who was going to distance themselves farthest from Bloomberg. He did it. He won. God bless him.
Next, I want to get to something that Andrew pointed out a couple days ago in a production meeting. Take a look at this and read the language along with me. Quote, unquote. The proposed amendment would allow the legislature to authorize up to 7 casinos in the state of New York for the legislative purposes of promoting job growth, increasing aid to schools, and permitting local governments to lower property taxes through revenues generated. Shall the amendment be approved? And all they missed there, Andrew was asking about if they love motherhood and apple pie. But this is the actual language people, when they're deciding of a yay or nay, are going to look at on the ballot. Am I right?
You know, I like job growth. I like aid to schools. I like lower property taxes. I guess I'm going to vote yes on this amendment. The question is about casino gambling. Just ask whether casinos should be built and leave it alone and let people decide based on the merits. That's not the kind of crap that people should be seeing when they're in the ballot box. It's the equivalent of
Is this a relatively new thing? I never remember the language that expansive on this stuff.
Unlike anything that's ever been pulled before, it's an outrage.
But if you want to win, I mean, isn't the goal to win? I mean,
no.
are you going to? I mean, come on.
If you're going to put pros on there, then you should put cons on there too.
You can vote for the progressive, helpful Democrats or for those mean, ugly, nasty Republicans.
But those are all things that can come out of casino gambling.
That will also the idea is that you go in the booth, you close it, you say, casino gambling, 7 casino, whatever. Yes or no? It's like, do you want Brodsky or Smith? You choose between two choices, not...
This is the equivalent of saying, like, vote on the Democratic line or on the Independent line, Dominic, lower taxes, better for all mankind, loves small animals and children.
It's smart. I don't know.
But that's on the ballot. It's not a campaign. It's on the actual ballot. That's my only point.
It should be on the ballot. If you want to win, isn't the goal to win?
The job of the election system is not to pick a side to win.
Well, now we know why you guys are not picking what's on the ballot.
Dominic, we always talk about the sanctity of the ballot box. Right. And if the sanctity of the ballot box includes not having to show ID, let's say, when you go in to vote, then maybe the selections, once you're in the ballot box,
you
should
can
be
do when a Republican takes over and decides to put on ballot propositions and say, why don't we deal with those people?
Well, I'll give you a perfect example as I segue to break. And Dominic, what imagine if somebody said, vote yay or nay on food stamps for those shiftless, lazy druggies or whatever is going to do it. This might not be that much of a hypothetical. When we come back, we will talk about a food fight over food stamps because, believe it or not, they're back in the headlines. And again, because some, and I'm sorry, the crazies in the GOP want to cut a huge amount of the program. We'll talk about that after this.
Don't be sorry.